TPUSA chapters are exploding across the higher ed landscape in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, with 44,000 new applications on college campuses. But a surprising number of Christian colleges and universities have rejected the organization, telling students they aren't allowed to start new clubs.
Joining us to explain what's going on is Daily Wire culture reporter Megan Basham. Hey, Megan. So I think most people would consider TPUSA, which is pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, heavily staffed by Christians, a sort of natural fit for Christian colleges. Which schools are rejecting them?
Yeah, John, it's actually a surprisingly long list. So I started looking into this story after the news broke that Point Loma Nazarene in California had rejected students' request for a TPUSA chapter for the third time. And then I also spoke to students at Biola, which is one of the largest evangelical universities in the country, and they told me their first request for a chapter was denied in 2023. So in September, after Charlie's assassination, they tried again, and they said they still aren't getting an answer. And then another Christian school, Concordia University in Wisconsin, initially rejected TPUSA, but then a student posted about it, it went viral, and they ultimately reversed course. All told, about 20 different Christian colleges and universities have said that TPUSA is not welcome on their campuses, and that includes some pretty big, well-known schools like Bob Jones University, Asbury, Oral Roberts, and Loyola New Orleans.
What reason are they giving for rejecting the clubs?
Yeah, that varies by school. And the students and alum who want to see new TPUSA chapters at their schools don't always buy these reasons that they're being given. So Point Loma said its board of directors rejected TPUSA largely because of this professor watch list that exposes and documents professors who discriminate against conservative students. Now, even though Point Loma students agreed not to use or contribute to that list, the board still felt TPUSA doesn't represent the kind of quote unquote constructive communication that they require from their official clubs. However, the school has approved left-leaning clubs like one called Break that focuses on issues like gender equality and gender justice. Sounds like a little bit of a feminist club. And the Center for Justice and Reconciliation, which focuses on immigration and racial justice. Also probably noteworthy that the administration removed a Charlie Kirk memorial that had been put up on campus after his death. Yeah. Now, Lydia Harvey is a Point Loma alum who met with the school's president about TPUSA. She actually believes that its rejection is really just overall part of the leftward drift the school is experiencing.
I think those are just nicely worded statements to cover the real reason. I think that they do not want for conservative students to find their voice.
And then similar situation at Biola. Biola approved the left-leaning club Students for Justice and Liberation, which says on its website that it stands for progressive values, the same semester that they applied, yet the verdict on TPUSA is still being drug out. Now, in its first rejection, that decision once again went all the way to the board of directors, and they said at that time that they take issue with TPUSA's quote-unquote narrative and tactics. Biola senior, Isela Becerra, who knew Charlie Kirk and has been spearheading this effort, told me she's worried that Biola is now just buying time before the board rejects her application again.
The fact that he died through political violence was really heartbreaking, and it was heartbreaking for my generation. And for Biola not to see that and be so disconnected from the student body, it's really frustrating.
Biola's administration, however, told me that they are following the standard approval process and timeline.
It sounds like students, parents, others writing the checks for these schools are often more conservative than the faculty in administrations. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that it is, because as I'm talking to these parents, students about TPUSA, they're pointing out a lot of other issues that they're starting to notice because of this. Things like faculty members who, in spite of statements of faith that should actually bar this, they're openly LGBTQ affirming. Parents are also pointing out that these same campuses that wouldn't allow a Charlie Kirk memorial will allow BLM protests. So these kind of showdowns over TPUSA, I think, are revealing to a lot of people just how far apart they are.
Certainly got our attention here. Megan, thanks so much for reporting.
Yeah, my pleasure.